Shib, what are my main options for UK relocation in order to set up a business for 2024?
Yeah, so I think Guy makes a good point that the UK immigration system is restricted these days, but we're still very much open for business, and it's just looking at tactics really to make sure that if you want to establish a business in the UK, it's done through a different route. So the main option now is the self-sponsorship through the skilled worker route, whereby you would open a limited company in the UK, and that company would then sponsor you to come to the UK as a skilled worker. And that's a really straightforward, simple route. It doesn't necessarily need any level of investment, and it leads to British citizenship within 6 years. So the options are narrower, and certainly for something like the Innovator visa now, we're not really kind of recommending that route. We would send you to the Isle of Man, I think. But the skilled worker route is still a great option.
So what is this self-sponsorship? Because we know there's we've heard about tier 1, Innovator visa. Is there actually a regulation to say self-sponsorship? What does it actually mean?
So it's what used to be tier 2, which is now skilled worker. So it's essentially, or the work permit system, you might have heard it called. So it's the way in which if somebody gets a job offer in the UK to come as a dentist, a doctor, an IT consultant, they would come under the skilled worker route. And this is kind of a subcategory of that route that we've termed self-sponsorship. You won't hear the UK government calling it that, but we've termed it self-sponsorship, and it's essentially within the skilled worker route.
How does the UK stand out from other options in terms of relocation? Because there's been a lot of people talking about relocation. How does it stand out compared to others?
Yeah, I mean, I think the UK is a great place to live. I was born there, grew up there. We don't have the weather that maybe Portugal or Greece has to offer, but we've, obviously wonderful culture. I think it's somewhere that Indian nationals would feel at home. We have a large Indian community in the UK, and obviously a lot of historical ties. We have a great education system, and one of the advantages of getting indefinite leave to remain through the skilled worker self-sponsorship is that if you have children, you can bring your family, provided they're under 18, and if they get their indefinite leave to remain, they'd then be eligible for home fees at British universities, including Oxford and Cambridge. So that's a great draw to a lot of people. I think we're a very inclusive society. There's a lot of business opportunities for people in the UK across all industries. There's no restrictions on the type of industry you can go into. We work with all sorts of different industries, including the food industry, import, export, healthcare. So I think it's it's a very sort of flexible option, really.
What's the name of the Prime Minister of the UK? The Prime Minister of the UK. There you go. Example. And people's heard of Tata, right? They've invested a huge amount in Land Rover. There's also Ambani families with families. So there's so many wonderful case studies, right? There's a huge heritage and a great link. So we've been discussing timelines, right? A lot of people want to know how long does it take. For the panelists, what is the current timeline for relocation to the UK? Say I'm interested, we know there's a April deadline for movement of funds, etc. What's the timeline?
Yeah, I'd say for the skilled worker self-sponsorship route, it's possible to obtain that visa within 1 to 2 months.
What? 1 to 2 months? That's just
It's
incredible.
incredibly quick. There's priority services at every step of the way. So you could potentially, if you wanted to move quickly, you could potentially beat that April deadline. You'd get the sponsor license, you'd then apply for the skilled worker visa. Other routes, if you are still looking at the Innovator route, that's going to be a lot longer. The UK expansion worker route, that's going to be a lot longer. But the skilled worker self-sponsorship route, we can rush that through with no problems.
So there's no backlog or anything with the Home Office?
There's backlog, as you mentioned earlier. There is a backlog in plenty of parts of the UK immigration system, but not within this particular section. They've got a lot of resources in the skilled worker sponsor license section. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. My question is to Kim. Kim, when you say the sponsored skilled worker visa, is there a disadvantage with respect to age? So Australia or many New Zealand has, say, if you're over 40, there's an issue of your points going down. Is there a point system, first of all? And is there a disadvantage with respect to age? That's my first question. The second question is the type of skill. How is it? How do we differentiate the type of skill? Say, an engineer or IT professional or might be a skilled labor. How do you differentiate the skill level of the person? Gotcha.
Thank you. So there's no points involved with this particular visa. The points-based system that you had under, say, Tier 1 General, which was very similar to the Australian system, that's gone completely. So there's no points at all, there's no age barrier. The Home Office will always look at whether somebody is capable of doing a job. So if you had somebody who was elderly, who had never had any previous business experience, that's not going to work. But other than that, we've handled applications from people in their 70s successfully. So, you know, if you have the business experience, that's what they're looking at rather than age. So there's no discrimination there, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. And then your second question, it's a good point because I think the skilled worker title is slightly misleading.
Yeah.
What happened after Brexit was that the UK government realised we need to expand the type of people who can come into the UK. So the skill level used to be very high, used to be graduate level, and that's changed completely. So you can come in as a chef now, you can come in as a restaurant manager, a dental nurse. So the skill level is not it's not applicable. You need a certain level of English, you need your IELTS, but that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much.
We've understood, like timeline-wise, in terms of time that can potentially be done. Is there any restrictions on how many applicants can be applying for the UK self-sponsorship visa? We've heard there's a limit on EB5, 10,000 visa allocation. Is there a restriction on how many applications can be done for the UK? Is there any restrictions?
No restrictions at all. So once the UK company has got a sponsor license, they can sponsor as many people as they want. So you could have, if you had two business partners in India who wanted to come over, they could both come. Families can come independently, well, rather as dependents, so they wouldn't have to have skilled worker visas for family members, but you could certainly have a few business partners coming if you're wanting to bring workers over, because there's a shortage of skills in the UK, then again, that company can sponsor as many workers as they want to come over. We used to have caps on the number that could come in. They used to be called restricted certificates. That's all gone now, so there's no limit.
Because they get free education, right, the children, if they're made applicants?
Yeah, completely free education up to university, and then if they've got the ILR, reduced fees at university level. Yeah.
So my point is, if you're going to send your kids to overseas education and you're spending approximately 40,000 and you're doing a self-sponsorship, they get free education, same education as everyone else. So I have another question.
I just want to know that is trading business recognized sponsorship business? Trading.
Sorry,
Trading,
just
right.
repeat the question.
Is trading business a recognized business?
Trading as in financial trading?
No, not financial, commodities.
Yeah, there's no restriction on any businesses. They're all permitted within the sponsor license skilled worker route. Yeah.
So if you want to further that business in the UK, then it's very much eligible.
Sorry, just say it again.
So
If want to further down the business in UK, the same trading business, that is very much eligible for the self-sponsorship.
So do you mean if you have a company in India already and you're wanting to move that or expand that to the UK? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be perfectly permitted. Yeah, and we'll probably go in your favour because obviously you can show that you have the relevant experience already. Mm.
So this is quite like very similar to like when people are looking at overseas branches, sole rep. Now this can, so it's just like when someone like Kim, they look at your profile, what you're doing here, and if you want to replicate that in the UK, there's a history, right? It really works well, and that's why they analyze your business and how to do that. Yeah. Any more questions? Oh, right. So we have our knowledge partner asking a very knowledgeable question. So
We have seen a lot of changes happening place in UK.
it's like, right.
We have seen a lot of changes taking place in UK over the last few years on the migration front. We saw the investor visa, £2 million closing down. We saw changes in sole rep. We saw changes in Innovator visa. Also the tier 1, I think you had where 50,000 investment in business. That has also closed down. So why are the changes happening place so frequently? And what is the best option right now, given the current situation?
I mean, I've worked in immigration law for 25 years and there's always been changes. It's nothing new. I think, we have a change of government, they want to change things. Even when we don't have a change of government, they want to constantly be tweaking things. I think it's often political because they're trying to respond to what they perceive that voters want. But there's always a way. We will always find a way. So, I would agree with Guy that the representative of the overseas business category, obviously that's gone completely, but the replacement of that is not fit for purpose. The Innovator visa is not fit for purpose, but we still find a way, which is now through the skilled worker self-sponsorship. So. There'll always be changes, but that's what we're here for, is to help people navigate those changes and make sure that anybody who does want to move to the UK is able to do so safely and securely, with a long-term route to a British passport.
So how soon can you get a British passport? After the PR?
So in the UK, it would be 6 years from first moving to the UK, because it would take you 5 years to get the indefinite leave to remain, and then another year to get the citizenship. Now, in the Isle of Man, do you still have a 3-year route to citizenship through the Innovator route?
4 years, 3 years for indefinite. So yeah, in the Innovator route, it's 3 years, then plus 3 years gets you your indefinite leave to remain. Then 1 extra year you can apply for citizenship. So
my question is that under Innovator visa, what kind of skills and professions are covered?
So under the Innovator visa, and this would be both in the UK and in the Isle of Man, the idea is that the business proposal must be completely innovative, so it must be new to market, which in the UK is very difficult. And what we're finding is that even when an endorsing body thinks an idea is innovative, the UK government disagrees. So we're having problems at the visa stage. In the Isle of Man, it's a similar principle that it has to be new to market in the Isle of Man, but there aren't that many businesses or industries in the Isle of Man, so it's likely that you're going to have an innovative business there.
I gave an example. Say, for example, if it is a combination of digital prints, generating the artistic prints, related to some interior decor, wall essence, such kind of profession will be covered under this Innovator visa.
No, not in the UK. You'd have to look at the self-sponsorship route.
Is there any living restriction as far as UK is concerned for the self-sponsorship program per year?
There is, if you're wanting to get indefinite leave to remain after 5 years, yes, there is, and that's 180 days absence in any year. So essentially you have to spend at least 6 months a year in the UK in order to get your indefinite leave to remain. If that's not possible for you, you can continue, you can just extend the skilled worker visa. But if you're looking at ILR, then you need to be in the UK for 6 months a
If
year.
you just want to operate a business out of UK and have free travel in UK, and then we don't have any restriction as to how many days we have to stay in UK.
That's correct, yeah, no restriction.
So we did get that question a lot because a lot of people still have a number of businesses they want to look after in India, and they're concerned if they open a business up in the UK, they're concerned that they have to frequently travel back and forth. Does it have an impact? Losing the visas, or is there a solution around that?
Yeah, so you'd never lose your visa because you were outside the UK. It was the only impact is looking at indefinite leave to remain, that then you would have a problem with that. But in terms of just continuing to operate your businesses outside the UK and having the freedom of travel, as you say, rather than having to get a visitor visa every time, then the skilled worker self-sponsorship is fine. There's no restriction on that.